All right, so this is just going to be a little bit of a off-the-wall summarization of a little back and forth that I had with Mr. Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. So that it started out, I'd seen the news come out about this event on Twitter, and I was like, okay, I gotta jump on that. That's my school, represent, do what I can. As I booked myself a ticket, said show up an hour and a half in advance. That was of course, I mean, I didn't exactly need to do that in the end. They just there was people coming around the event time anyway, and I was they got to get their comments in. But yeah, to summarize, I had a question on. I want to ask him about transhumanism. That's I want to challenge him on that because the principles around transhumanism, are pretty not very debatable. If you value basic libertarian principles such as, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, morphological freedom is really, having the right to alter your body in ways, that you would like, steroids or plastic surgery or tattoos, etc., etc. So those same principles apply to what you would call transgenderism, but or even more extreme variations. So the same principles must apply to more extreme degrees, regardless of how uncomfortable it makes people feel. And so he gave his rebuttal, and he was like, okay, so of course, I mean, a lot of the stuff, you would expect. He was like, okay, the technology is not possible. It's never going to be possible. And which is, I mean, of course, true. Technology, it doesn't exist, within our own current scientific abilities. And of course, I mean, I was mostly just talking about the principle. And so he said like, okay, so if this technology were theoretically possible, you would essentially destroy the man completely and like rebuild another person in their place. And I was sort of like being rushed like off, to get the next person, in line because it was there was a lot of people waiting in line. I did have these rebuttals in my mind, but I just swallowed my pride a little bit. I was umming and ahhing. But yeah, the point is, for one, that doesn't make any sense because it was still, the idea isn't to swap out your brain and your consciousness for another conscious being, or otherwise it would be it would be a transition into death. It'd be a transition into like, yeah, but yeah, the only thing that you would need to keep intact really is your brain and yourself, because that's your whole personality is what's in there. It's like everything around it. In many TV shows and movies that depict like those sorts of radical metamorphosis, they usually refer to them as like shells and stuff. So the idea is the only thing that's truly you is in here, and everything else is a shell. So that's the idea. Is transhumanism. It's like you want to develop technology to basically change your shell, and so that was kind of like twisted, and this kind of idea of destroying them, basically swapping out a consciousness. But I don't know how we got that, but that's if I was going to rebut, then that's what I would have said. And then also it is that, like, okay, it was said that it never will be possible to fully transition one from a male to a female or vice versa, but because the examples that I had mentioned of the progress that we have made in gender affirming care were only surgeries and hormones. That I gave, the examples that I gave of that's currently being practiced. But the thing that I forgot to mention is that there is tons of research currently going on that has been tested on in animals in the field of nanotechnology and gene therapy and gene editing, stuff called CRISPR and Cas9, and there's of which we are able to basically pick apart strains of DNA and replace them in an individual level. Now, of course, to create that on a much larger scale, you would obviously need to incorporate, lots more of nanotechnology or some other kind of super advanced technology with artificial intelligence in order to, automatically and to have that map sort of laid out on a grander scale, rather than just individually picking, swapping out the DNA strains. But so yeah, there's that, and let's see. Right. There's a study there's a study involving mice that happened earlier this year, where they were able to reverse the symptoms of aging, that had regained its eyesight, among other things. I believe it was a study involving this guy named Dr. Sinclair, I think. And so, of course, mostly when people think of transhumanism, they think of, immortality and uploading your consciousness to the cloud or something. But I mean, it does apply to morphological freedom is one of the main principles, and it does apply to the possibility of changing your gender or race or species. Of course, humanity is definitely not ready for those next two conversations, but that's the idea, is that we will have those conversations, and when he mentioned, and I guess another thing I would have responded to, but I think when he mentioned that we would have destroyed someone completely and replaced them with something else, I think this also ties down into the core belief, the core Christian religious belief that that someone's sex is is innate from birth, and like it's tied with their soul. So if they were faced with, so it's almost like they're preparing for a new class of people to discriminate against if this ever happens in the future, because like if they were ever faced with this new group of people who like could fully transition into the opposite sex, well then it must not be true, because that person, the person that we knew was born a male, so that can't change, because that's like innate. So if it does happen, then it's like, that would be like a way to cope with it. We'll just pretend that person was dead. At least that's what I could sort of extrapolate from it. But I don't know. Maybe there would be a whole philosophical debate over that in the future. But yeah, I certainly didn't have time to go this far into it. But yeah, that's how the discussion went. I'd say it was pretty respectful. I tried not to make any clips of myself successful in that. Although in the end, there weren't any clips at all, because it was rather one of the more boring conversations. But I'm proud that I went up there and I spoke to what I believe in, and that's that.